So you have completed your activity. Here is my filled out version. I did the activity just as you guys did, and here is my copy. So first I had to calculate my theoretical probability. So I looked at my circle and saw that I could divide it into about 1/8 of a circle. Blue was 2/8 of my circle, or 1/4, and that makes up 25%, so I would expect it to occur with 25% probability. Red is 1/8, so I got 12.5, and you can see that the rest of them pretty much match the same number. So yellow was 12.5, green's 25%, violet 12.5%, and orange again 12.5%. So now that I have my theoretical probability, you would all have the same numbers as me for that part. I then used the spinner to fill out my table. So you may not have these same results, and in all likelihood do not have the same results for me on your table. That is fine. Everyone would get a different result through using the spinner 10 times. So when I filled that out and used my spinner, I got first yellow, then red, blue, violet, blue, green, red, violet, yellow, green. So there were my 10 trials. That table was given to me right again in my simulator, and as was this table over here, where I just copied it down, but you can see that it does match my two tables. So yellow occurred twice, violet occurred twice, orange occurred 0 times, and I used that information, or that information was used to calculate the experimental probability, which you can see on the side. So blue, red, yellow, green, and violet all occurred with 20% probability, and orange occurred with 0 probability. Now, our next step was comparing this experimental probability to our original theoretical probabilities. So remember that blue and green were 25%, and the rest of them occurred with 12.5% probability. And those results don't really match what we got in our experimental trials. The experimental, they're all the same, with the exception of the color orange, which didn't occur at all. This doesn't really match what we saw with the theoretical. 12 and 25 don't appear here at all. All of them are 20%, which is in between the two, but that's really all we got. Like, it really just doesn't match. So we keep going. We need to extend the activity to try and see what happens as we do more. So we're going to fill out 3 more tables. So again, I just went to use the simulator. I clicked spin 10 times, copied down the table of my 10 draws, hit reset, and did it again until I filled out all 3 of my tables. So this means I've now done 40 trials, 10 from my original and 30 more. And I used that to go and fill out my new table here in step 5. So I had to go and calculate my own occurrences for this one. There isn't a table on the screen that will calculate that for you, but I just counted them up. I got that blue occurred 10 times, red occurred 7 times, yellow occurred 4 times, green occurred 7 times, violet occurred 9 times, and orange occurred 3 times. Using that information, I got my experimental probability. Again, since I had 40 trials, my occurrences should all add up to 40. You can use that to make sure you have added them all up correctly. And then compare your experimental probability to the theoretical probability once again. Now, again, your results are going to be different than what you see here on mine, but I found that mine are closer. My blue experimental probability actually matches my theoretical probability, as they are both 25%, and the rest, I would say, are generally closer than they were before. Red is a little bit high, and yellow is a little bit low. Violet and orange, again, violet is actually quite a bit higher than we would expect, but orange is also quite a bit lower than we would expect. And green is a little bit lower, but still, they're all generally closer than they were before. We're seeing a little bit more spread out. So that is something to note, that it did get closer. Now, on the rest of your note that we have, it talks about the 2 probabilities, and we actually do see this trend. So now if I was to have you do this trend even more times, 50 times, 60 times, or 100 times, the more you did this trial, that experimental probability would actually approach our theoretical probability to the point where they would be the same. That is one of the rules of probability, that as more we do, the more trials that we do, the more it is going to match our theoretical values. Same thing with flipping a coin. You flip 2 coins, you might get a heads and a tails, but you might not. But if you did 100, you're much more likely to have 50 heads and 50 tails. All right.